Still chasing their first podium of the 2025 Formula One season, Ferrari are heading into the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix with a glimmer of hope and a 30% wider operating window for the SF25, if the reports are to be believed. Could this be the boost Lewis Hamilton has been waiting for? Let's see for ourselves. The Jeddah circuit's layout plays right into Ferrari's hands. Low downforce demands, barely any tyre wear, and crucially, less need to keep the car sky-high off the ground. Coupled with the breakthrough their engineers just hit, this could mean a sudden rise to the top for both drivers. That last point has been a major sore spot for the SF25. In China, Ferrari pushed the ride height to the limit, so much so that Lewis Hamilton ended up disqualified after his skid block wore down more than the allowed limit. It dropped to 8.6 millimeters, just 0.4 millimeters shy of the required 9 millimeters. Close, but no champagne. That mishap had effects all the way to Suzuka, where Ferrari played it safe and ran the cars higher than they wanted, sacrificing performance for compliance. In Bahrain, things didn't get much better. Leclerc and Hamilton finished 4th and 5th, with Charles once again leading the charge. But even with a fresh floor upgrade, Sky Sports' Naomi Schiff reported Ferrari still couldn't quite run the SF25 in its sweet spot. It's been a tricky start for Lewis at Ferrari, the former W Series driver said. After qualifying, he was particularly down. I mean, even coming into this weekend, it felt like energies were really low. They brought the new floor this weekend. Clearly they've closed the gap because both Charles and Lewis towards the end, they were very competitive. And Lewis, he always comes back alive on a Sunday. I think his issue is really much more on a Saturday with his qualifying pace. But in these long-run pace situations, he's always a lot more on it. And you can feel that his energy's lifted immediately as soon as he delivers a bit of performance. Some good news is finally on the horizon for Lewis Hamilton and the Scuderia. The stars might just be aligning for Ferrari at the next stop on the calendar, the lightning-fast Jeddah Corniche circuit. After a promising showing in Bahrain where Ferrari's new floor upgrade proved its worth and the SF25 seemed perfectly at ease in the desert heat, Jeddah is offering up a trifecta of advantages tailor-made for the prancing horse. I'm talking about low downforce, barely any tyre degradation, and a smooth, bump-free surface. Exactly the conditions Ferrari needs to let the SF25 hug the asphalt and hit that all-important optimal setup window. According to Gazzetta dello Sport, data crunched after Bahrain showed that Ferrari's operating window there was nearly double what they had to work with just a week earlier at Suzuka. That's a huge leap forward. The new floor introduced in Sakhir has made a real difference. Now, all eyes are on Saudi Arabia, where Ferrari might finally cash in on all that R&D and see the SF25 shine at last. Ferrari could be about to hit the jackpot with a performance breakthrough. Thanks to improved linearity across a broader range of conditions, the team might be on the verge of stretching the SF25's performance window by a whopping 30% over what they managed in Bahrain, if the paddock whispers are to be believed. With Lewis Hamilton joining the fold and a solid uptick in form during the back half of 2024, Scuderia Ferrari rolled into 2025, riding a wave of optimism. But so far, that wave's been more of a ripple. Both Charles Leclerc and Hamilton have already voiced their frustrations with Ferrari's latest machine, leaving team boss Fred Vasseur in defense mode as he tries to steer the narrative and the team back on course. After showing promising pace late last season, Ferrari made a call to scrap the old SF24 concept and start fresh. That meant big changes, including ditching their usual pushrod front suspension in favor of a pull rod setup. Technical director Loic Serra explained the switch in detail. The thinking behind this change in architecture was to clean up the airflow around the car while also giving greater scope for further aero development, which had pretty much been exhausted with the previous iteration. Frédéric Vasseur talked to the media ahead of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and this is what he had to say about the team's progress ahead of the race. The first triple header of the season ends in Saudi Arabia on the Jeddah Corniche circuit, which has very different characteristics in both layout and asphalt compared to Bahrain, where we raced less than a week ago. In Sakhir, we made small steps forward in terms of competitiveness, both thanks to improved car performance and a solid team effort in qualifying and the race. Over the past few days in Maranello, we've continued to work hard on data analysis, and we want to approach the Jeddah race with the same objective. We want to stay focused on ourselves because that's the best way to extract the most from our current package and keep making progress in order to close the gap to the teams ahead of us in the standings. But while the car might be finding its groove, Lewis Hamilton is still trying to do the same in red. Damon Hill, never one to mince words, says Hamilton needs to accept that life at Ferrari isn't exactly a continuation of his smooth sailing at Mercedes over the past dozen years. The seven-time champ snagged the sprint win in China with a dominant lights-to-flag performance, but when it comes to full-length Grand Prix Sundays, he hasn't climbed higher than fifth. With 4 races in the bag, Hamilton sits a distant 7th in the standings, 52 points behind the flying Lando Norris. He's also playing second fiddle to teammate Charles Leclerc when it really counts. After Suzuka, Hamilton admitted there's been a noticeable gap between the two sides of the garage, with a specific element of his car just not delivering the goods. And that, says Hill, is exactly where Lewis needs to roll with the changes. Because adapting to Maranello life is now part of the mission. Settling into a new team is hard, disorientating, strange, Hill said. It's easy to lose bearings, familiar landmarks, etc. It takes a while, but he is still Lewis Hamilton. Needs a good engineering team with him, and to accept this will be different from what he's been used to. Damon Hill's advice for Hamilton to give himself time comes hot on the heels of another F1 veteran weighing in, Martin Brundle. The ever-insightful Sky Sports pundit revealed he's been told that switching teams in Formula One is actually tougher than starting as a rookie. Somebody explained to me today that it's harder to relearn and move teams than it is to be a rookie and just learn in the first place, said the Sky F1 pundit. Kind of buying into that a little bit. But it's a bit surprising. I thought Lewis would pick it up. Clearly the car is not working. And of course, he wants to find out how to work with the engineer better, how to make the team, find out where all the green buttons are to find the speed that Leclerc already knows. But at the moment, I would say it's troubled times. Frederick Vasseur saw a silver lining in Lewis Hamilton's frustration after qualifying in Bahrain. Rather than being concerned, the Ferrari team boss actually welcomed Hamilton's disappointment, praising it as a sign of the champion's relentless mindset. Speaking after the race, Vasseur applauded his new recruit's very strong recovery drive and made it clear, this is exactly the kind of fire he wants to see in a Ferrari driver. You won't replace 12 years of collaboration in 2 weeks or in 2 races. For sure, we need to improve, but this is true for everybody in the team, in the paddock, that the DNA for our sport is to try to do a better job. It's good to have Lewis with this mindset. I have to improve also myself, and to adapt myself to the car, and we will adapt the car to Lewis, but he had to do a step. This is done in a positive way and a very constructive way between us. The fact he was a bit down yesterday evening, I like it. If he comes back and says, I'm 10th, it's a shame. So he was disappointed because he was better in the rest of the weekend. In F1 today, if you make a mistake, you lose 6 or 7 positions. That was not the case 3 or 4 years ago. We have to stay calm in terms of judgment of the performance because sometimes, for almost nothing, you can change a good weekend into a very poor one. I appreciated the direction of Lewis on Saturday, and I did my best to push him a little bit, and on Sunday he was in very good shape. If even a 7-time world champion can't tame the SF25, what will it really take for the prancing horse to gallop back to glory? Let's discuss in the comment section down below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.